Hey, this is the Extreme Channel, all about collectibles. But today, as you saw in the title, we're talking about cruising again. What the hell? Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Normally we talk about a little bit of an extreme lifestyle, mostly about crazy collectibles like the stuff behind me. If you're a follower of the channel, you know that we've been doing a lot of videos on vacationing and cruising lately. No, it's not the future of the channel. It is just the fact that I've had a lot more vacations and cruising than I've had collectibles. And that's because I've been on about 25 cruises, and recently I posted both of these videos. One was top 10 reasons I love to go on cruises. They're about half of the vacations we go on. The other one was, though, the 10 horrible things about cruises. And I had a lot of different good comments from you guys, but one of the comments from J5 Toys is you should do a video on cruising for beginners. And I thought that was an absolutely fabulous idea. So thank you, J5 Toys. Now to that point, I'm not gonna lay out like a top 10, but I'm gonna tell you, in my opinion, kind of the hints or things you wanna look for if you've never gone on a cruise before and you wanna give it a try. Now before we dive into those things, I wanna relay something we talked about last time. How much does a cruise cost? Well, obviously you have a lot of different choices. Everything from where your cruise is going, the cruise line you use, the type of room you get, extra stuff you include in the package. But typically a cruise will cost about $1,000 to $1,500 per person for a 7-day cruise. So if there's two of you, you're gonna pay $2,000 to $3,000 on average, unless you're buying the suites, which personally I've never stayed in because those are about $10,000 to $15,000 per person. But if you're looking at doing a cruise for the first time, here's some things that hopefully will help you. First, I want to talk about the different cruise lines. Now, I have not been on every single different cruise line. I've been on about 5 of them. I've talked about it on the channel many times. Our go-to cruise line is Celebrity. There's a few different reasons we choose Celebrity. Number one, it's a much older crowd, and for us, we like that. There's not a lot of kids. Typically, especially during the year, there's 20 to 30 kids of the 2,000 guests on board, and that includes our 3 children. 2, it's not a lot of younger people in their early 20s running up and down the hallways, screaming at night, spilling beer on you at the pool. Now with that, there are a lot of retirement age people. So if that's not something you dig, that's something to keep in mind. Another reason we like them is we think their food and service is above the rest of the cruise lines we've been on. Now you do pay a little bit more for them. We also like them because most of their ships are a manageable size. When I say manageable size, I mean 2,000 to 3,000 people. We find ships bigger than that hold 4,000 to 5,000 people. It's just too much. Activities and things like that we're going to talk about today are really hard to do when you have that many people. And just think about basic stuff like getting on and off the ship when you have that many people. It's really tough. And I will tell you this, the majority of people that I've heard say, hey, I did one cruise and I absolutely hated it, they went on Carnival Cruise Lines. Now, if you're a lover of Carnival Cruise Lines, I ain't throwing any hate on you, but there's a reason they're cheaper. The age-old adage is you get what you pay for. We've also been on Royal Caribbean, which has some of those giant, huge ships. The nice thing about Royal Caribbean, who actually owns Celebrity Cruises, is their ships have a lot of the really cool fun stuff like a wave pool or rock climbing wall, go-kart track, water slides. Norwegian, very similar as well. No matter what cruise line you choose, here are some tips to help you. All right, first, plan on spending money. I don't just mean on your cruise tickets. A little bit of this will be review from the things I hate about a cruise. But first of all, you're gonna pay tips. That means anytime you buy a drink, all the food is included for the most part. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But anytime you buy a drink, you have to tip, and it's already put on your bill. Usually it's 15%. Also, every person pays gratuities. These are typically $15 to $30 per person per day. They are billed either daily or at the end of the trip. You have to pay these. And in theory, they go to people like your stateroom attendant who cleans up after you, your waiter, whether you go to the restaurants or not. So those you're gonna end up paying no matter what. The next things are kind of optional, but my guess is if you go on a cruise, especially for your first time, you're gonna do some of these things. First are shore excursions. So every time you're at a port, you can just get off the boat and look around. A lot of ports are really built for shopping and restaurants, just for you to explore a little bit. But if you wanna do one of the famous tourist attractions on the island, or the port that you're going to, you can arrange a group activity that the boat sponsors. Now these range anywhere from $30 all the way up to $3,000 per person, depending how elaborate they are. And if you're going to certain places, I highly recommend it. For example, in the Cayman Islands, which we've been to 7 or 8 times, they have a place called Stingray City. What that is you take a boat out to a sandbar in the middle of the Caribbean, and giant 5-foot wide stingrays come up and flop on you. That's pretty cool. And we've done everything from spelunking, swimming with sharks, climbing waterfalls, swimming with dolphins, wine tasting. We've probably done over 50 different excursions. So I do recommend those. Another thing you're obviously going to spend money on is souvenirs. Now I'm going to tell you right now, don't buy shit from the boat. The boat has a bunch of stores on board, and they're going to tell you they have the greatest deals. For today only, you get 70% off. That's bullshit. That's the normal retail price. You will find stuff cheaper at the ports for the most part. You can buy souvenirs. My wife and I, we collect shot glasses. We actually have over 70 different shot glasses from all the different countries we've visited. They have a casino on board. If you're a gambler, you will spend money in the casino. And just like every casino, most people don't win. And they have every game there, and most of them even have Texas Hold'em. Usually it's a one-person table. And if you're a Hold'em player like I am, it's not really that great. Like, they'll do tournaments, but they're an hour long, so you essentially start with like 12 blinds. If you want to have alcoholic drinks or even soda, that costs extra money. You have 2 ways to do that. The first way is to pay as you go. And honestly, it's priced pretty well. Like, a beer is $6. Or you can buy all-inclusive drink packages, which are very expensive. You may spend $100 per day and you have to buy it for the entire trip. So one person might be $700 for an all-inclusive drink package. Plus that extra 15% tip they always charge you for. So to figure out if this is for you, just do the math. Am I gonna drink more than 10 margaritas a day that are like $12? You know that I do. If so, buy the all-inclusive drink package. I've talked about this before. If you have to fly to the port, always go a day early so you do not miss that damn boat. That means you have to fly early, get a hotel, get extra transportation, spend money on food. Because you never know what can happen with the airlines. Another thing you're going to pay for is internet. Internet is not free on the boat. Depending on what country you're in, you may not have cell phone service or Wi-Fi. And they generally have 2 different packages. Basic, which is extremely basic. Don't expect to even open a web page. You may be able to get email. And then you have advanced, which generally they claim is so good you can stream stuff. Not true. It's still not the best. But that can cost anywhere from $20 to $40 per person per day. Last thing you can spend money on is food, and let me explain this. Every single ship has a few different dining options. They all have a big buffet that's usually open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you want to eat there, it's free, it's all included. Depending on the boat, some of it is very good. Most have an outdoor grill with burgers and hot dogs, and all have a fine dining restaurant for breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well. This is free as well, all included. And on Celebrity particularly, especially in the main dining room, I think it's very good food. It's a 5-star experience. Every night the entrees are generally a vegetarian, a fish, a red meat, some type of bird. But over the last 20 years, they've added specialty dining. These are ones that are like real restaurants where you have to make reservations and you pay anywhere from $20 to $50 per head. Do not book these. In my opinion, one of the biggest waste of monies on a trip, even if you have like a special day, like an anniversary or something like that. You can have plenty of other great food options. Next thing I want to talk to you about, getting on and off the boat, not only at the beginning, but at the end. So first of all, if you're gonna get on the boat, as soon as you can check in for your trip, which depending on the cruise line is anywhere from 1 week to 1 month early, go ahead and go online, usually they have an app, and check in, and you can reserve what time you want to get on the boat. The quicker you do it, the earlier you can get on. The bonus to getting on early, which usually the earliest is between 10 and 11 a.m., because generally a cruise just ended and people got off. But that way you can get on the boat, you can start enjoying the food, you can start enjoying the boat right away. But be prepared to wait. We've waited anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, even arriving at our designated time. Also, when you get on the boat, I'm going to tell you this right now, the absolute busiest place is the buffet. Usually it is the main place open, and it's only set to hold about 1/3 of the passengers on the boat. However, everybody wants to go there. You typically will not find a spot to sit. So if you're not hungry, don't go there first. Or go check it out and see if you're lucky enough to find a spot. Conversely, at the very end of the cruise, and we'll talk about in between at the ports in a second, don't be in a huge hurry to get off the boat. It is a long waiting game, no matter what time you're designated to get off. And when you get off, if you have a flight, typically sometimes you can get to the airport by 8 a.m., but you never know, so do not book a flight home before noon. Now, getting on and off the boat at the ports. This can be tricky. There's 2 different scenarios. Scenario number 1 is you are actually docked at the port. You pull right up to it and you can get on and off. I'll tell you this, Whenever we're in that situation, we go down by the gangway and we hang out about 30 minutes to an hour before we get off so we can be one of the first ones. We don't want to wait in line for 30 minutes or an hour because think about it, if you're getting 5,000 or 2,000 people off and they all want to do it at the same time, it is definitely an adventure. This is even more prevalent if you tender. What tendering is it means that the boat is too large to dock at the port. So they actually throw anchor maybe half a mile from dock and boats take you back and forth. This can be a nightmare. So again, I recommend the same things. Try and get down there as early as possible. Also, when getting back, try and do it at off times. I think it was actually at Cayman Islands earlier this year. We had to wait an hour and a half in line to get back on the tender boat to get back to the boat. Rooms. What kind of rooms do I choose? Well, you have a few different options. The cheapest one are what are called inside staterooms. Above that is an ocean view where you have a little hole you can see out of. Some boats are bigger holes. Above that is a balcony, different tiers of balconies depending where they're located on the boat. Then you have a concierge class typically, which just means you get a little special pampered treatment. Total waste of money. You have an aqua spa class. Again, total waste of money, although sometimes they include free reservations to some of those restaurants. Then you have different levels of suites. Biggest waste of money in the world unless you have a complete disposable income. And not like a Mr. X disposable income, but where you can literally just pay $30,000 more for a trip so you have an extra 200 square feet. However, generally if you book a suite, you get a lot of free extras. So for example, that internet we talked about, the drink package is included, and usually your gratuities are already paid for. Now, what room do you choose? We like to choose balcony rooms because we like to hang out on our balcony instead of up top sometimes. It's good to have that privacy. Plus, having sex on a balcony is pretty cool. You do have partition dividers. Just don't do it when you're at port because all the people down below can see you. But if you're not going to spend a lot of time in your room, save money and go on the inside stateroom. Onboard activities. There is so much to do depending on the boat. I mean, you have art auctions and tastings. Some of those big boats I talked about, there's, surfing and water slides and laser tag. Usually they have bingo or deal no deal. They have art auctions. Many of these things also cost money. Most of them a waste. I would not recommend it. They do have a lot of free stuff. So they'll have like trivia activities or sports or shows. I think you can fill up your schedule with the stuff that doesn't cost money and have just as much fun, in my opinion. Also, I'd highly recommend do not be a slave to the schedule. So every day they put out a schedule, whether it's a paper schedule or usually on their app. If you go through, hey, I want to do this, don't fill it up. It really ruins your vacation. We like to sit back and relax and do stuff at our own pace. There might be one or two things we want to make sure we do every day. This is especially prevalent when we're at sea, those sea days. I would highly recommend don't book all these different activities you want to do because some of them, while they're fun, they're not the most amazing thing in the world. Sometimes sitting there and relaxing, whether at the pool or on your balcony, is the best vacation in the world. Last thing I want to talk about is the ports, when you go to the ports. So first of all, if you're looking for souvenirs and cheap shit, be very selective at the ports. You will literally find one store selling something for $20, like a t-shirt, and then one selling it for $5 a little bit later. So definitely look around, but also be safe. Don't travel too far out on your own. Trust your gut. If it looks shady, stay away. But most areas right around a port are pretty safe. Those cruise boats that bring in tens of thousands of people each week are their livelihood, so they usually keep that area pretty secure. There's gonna be a bunch of high-end places to buy stuff from too. Now, that's both an advantage and disadvantage. Yes, some of it is cheaper than the United States because you don't have to pay tax, and they claim there's no duties, but they make up the money other ways. But then again, depending on how much you spend, you may have to claim it when you come back through customs, and you'll end up paying tax then. So always be very careful. If you're buying something expensive, like we bought a lot of expensive jewelry down there, go with the places that are not the ma and pa shops. If I'm buying a $15,000 diamond something for my wife, I don't want to buy it from someone where I can't verify it's real or not. I want to buy it from like a chain, like Diamonds International or Effie or something like that. Those are popular chains at cruise ports where there's actually recourse if something goes wrong. If you're going to do an excursion, like I said, there's ones the boats arrange, or you can go on shore yourself and there's tons of people with signs. Hey, go parasailing with us. I would recommend you do something with the boat for two reasons. Number one, like I said, you have recourse if something goes wrong, and it's probably pretty safe. Number two, the boat won't leave without you. If your excursion is delayed, they will actually keep the boat. Where if your excursion is delayed and you booked it independently, you're gonna have to figure out how to get to the next island and catch up with the boat. So those are just some tips for some first timers. I could literally talk about this for hours. I couldn't even figure out what information to tell you guys. This is all very basic, but hopefully it helps you a little bit if you decide to go on a cruise. Hey, if you have any other questions, feel free to email me at mrx@theextremechannel.com. I'd be more than happy to give you some advice. And again, a lot of this stuff is my preference, but going on so many different cruises, these are how we've narrowed it down to actually have an amazing time for 95% of the trip. The other 5% are those horrible guests I talked about in Why I Hate Cruising. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you guys so much. Again, a different video. Lots of collectible content coming up, but again, it was delayed by FedEx and USPS today. So I'll have stuff very, very soon for you guys. Please give me a like until then.